Last Jedi, this was released December 2017, 2 years after Force Awakens had been released. It was directed by Rian Johnson, who I'm not overly familiar with the guy's work. I haven't seen any of his movies, but he did direct a few episodes of Breaking Bad.
Huh.
And I actually looked to see which episode he directed. He actually directed 3 of the best episodes
Really?
of Breaking Bad. However, he did not write them.
I remember going to see this in the theaters, and I had a very similar experience to The Force Awakens, where the first time I saw it, I thought it was great, and rewatching it, I'll admit, the parts that I think are good, I actually think are really great, but everything that's bad is absolutely horrible. So it's a much more mixed response if I
we'll
rewatch it.
We'll have to see if we agree on which parts are terrible, though. But, you know, when I saw this in the theaters, I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
If you had asked me, leaving that theater, what I thought, I would have said I loved it. It's the 3rd best in the series. But I did not rewatch it until almost 2 years after it came out.
Really?
Because I thought I would end up having a similar experience with Force Awakens, where I loved it when I first saw it, but then it did not hold up on rewatches.
I went and saw it in theaters a second time, and I was like, yeah, okay, I can see where everybody's problems with this come
that was
from.
something I noticed. This one, unlike Force Awakens, there was an immediate backlash against this one. Because it seemed like everybody loved Force Awakens and Rogue One. I was the odd man out on Rogue One, you know? Like, I was the only one going, yeah, this isn't that great, you know?
And then this one
I was just going livid. Like, sheesh, what is, like, why do so many people hate this, you know? But I tried recording a video with one of my roommates where we were talking about The Last Jedi, and I realized I couldn't remember most of it. Granted, this was almost a year after it had been released, and I hadn't rewatched it since. I only rewatched it because I knew we were going to do a podcast on these movies. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have watched the prequels again if we hadn't done this podcast, you know, but those were a lot more entertaining.
Yeah.
On the rewatch, because I watched it a second time. I've seen it 4 times now, by the way. 4 times. Because I wanted to, like, be able to have it fresh in my mind, you know, decide, do I, you know, like it or not, and, you know. First time I rewatched it, I was mixed on it. The 3rd time, I think was... The 3rd time, I don't even think I finished it. Because what I was planning on doing was watching it and then recording my reactions to it. Sort of a commentary a little bit. But I didn't end up finishing it. I couldn't stand it. Then I rewatched it again, well, in full, because my dad, he was just out of the hospital. He wanted to see it again, you know, and I figured I'll rewatch it, and it was... Then, okay, I didn't see the theatrical cut the 5th time. I watched a fan edit of it.
Oh, okay.
The fan edit of it did make my views on it a little bit more positive, because before that, I would have said this is the worst film of the entire series. Now I'm not entirely sure, but...
Can I take a guess as to what they cut out of the fan edit? Was most of the casino scenes gone?
That was all gone.
Yep. That's what I figured. Was there any of that, like, light drive tracking plot there anymore?
Most of it was gone.
Yep, that's what I figured.
Basically, it focused mostly on Luke and Rey and some of that stuff.
Yep.
But yeah. So, obviously, you know, this got a huge backlash from people. I can understand where they're coming from. I did not understand what I saw in the theater. I understand it now.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, I watched it, you know, because when I was rewatching them for the podcast, I was just thinking, like, this really isn't that good. Like, it's not that great, you know. And, you know, And another thing, when I was rewatching for the podcast, I decided I'll rewatch that one first, so I can just get it
out of the way,
get it done with, So that was kind of my first clue that this is not one of my favorites. This is not one of the best ones. But before we get to the negatives, let's talk about the positives. The big positive I can give it, Mark Hamill's beard.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bit, okay, that was more of a joke. Kylo Ren figured out how to use Skype. That's also a huge positive. He finally figures out. Okay, no.
I actually,
those are both jokes. But
going on that though, I did enjoy how they expanded on some Force powers in this sequel trilogy.
I do like.
I thought because they kind of had that in the original trilogy when
the most interesting stuff in the film is when Luke is explaining the Force to Rey.
Yeah,
that's the most interesting stuff in the movie.
The whole thing with Rey and Kylo Ren talking to one another, that kind of happened in the original trilogy, if you remember at the end of Empire.
Yeah, but it was done in a more subtle, restrained way that didn't look like they were talking on like a computer or something, or a phone. Like I mentioned, Skype. I was joking when I said that was a positive.
I actually do enjoy that, though.
I don't know. It just the Skype stuff was ridiculous, but I thought some of the stuff with Luke was kind of interesting. I kind of like how they show the ancient Jedi texts, because you hadn't really seen them before.
And they're just old books.
I kind of would have liked to have seen what was in them, but it was kind of interesting that they have them in the movie rather than just I do think the opening battle scene is pretty cool.
I actually
aside from the
one.
stupid joke at the beginning with Hux and
in
Poe, that was terrible.
In the Force Awakens,
the actual battle scene is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
In the Force Awakens,
and that was another thing. The fan edit removed a lot of the really bad jokes, including that part. So the battle at the beginning flowed a lot better.
Because in The Force Awakens, Hux was presented as a serious villain who,
he's
was
a complete joke in this.
They just make fun of him over and over and over again.
Which, granted, I'm kind of okay with because I think his character sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it rhymes with Hux, so of course he sucks. But he they can make it. They basically make him like
he's a
court jester.
Exactly.
He's a court jester for the for not the Empire, the First Order. Yeah, might as well be the Empire since it's a ripoff. But
Hux is so bad in this movie.
His acting is terrible from Hux. And he's not a bad. The guy that plays him, he's not even a bad actor. He was really good in a movie called Ex Machina, which also had Oscar Isaac in it, with a really ridiculous beard and one of the funniest dance scenes ever.
And then, all right, so that battle I think is actually really good.
It was a really cool battle.
I love the shot
one of the better scenes of the movie, I think.
I love the shot where the bomber is overhead and she has the detonator for it and she drops. I love that shot.
A lot of people they criticize it because gravity. Blah.
Well, no,
blah.
Okay, hold on.
Blah,
it makes
blah,
sense.
Blah, bombs dropping. I don't care. It's Star Wars.
It makes sense because they have a fake gravity in the ship, and so they're gonna fall. But once they reach space, it's gonna keep heading in the same direction that it was.
Yeah.
So it's still going to fall onto the ship.
I don't care about physics. If you try and apply physics to any of these movies,
there's going to be something wrong with it.
You're going to explode. This is a movie series with a talking green Muppet that explains an energy field. You're expecting this physics to make sense.
Yeah.
I do. Okay, this is one thing I do remember liking in the theater, and I still do kind of like now. I mean, Benicio del Toro.
He did not get enough screen time.
Now,
I love him so much.
Now, he doesn't get enough screen time. But seeing it in the theater, I was like, Benicio del Toro is in a Star Wars movie?
He's quite possibly the funniest part about that whole movie.
He feels like a character that just wandered off a completely different movie. Like
just ended up there. It's
like a character from like Snatch or some other some kind of heist movie or something. Like it's just, and he's easily one of the most interesting characters in the movie. You're just like wondering, who is this like guy?
And surprisingly, he's also one of the least over the top.
Especially
when you compare him to Snoke.
Aside from the
Kylo
stutter,
Ren.
yeah. Because they do kind of overdo the stutter a bit, but yeah. I mean, it's not like Michael Palin in Fish Called Wanda bad, but, you know, he has a weird stutter. He feels like he's from a completely different movie. Yeah. But I'm so glad he's in this film. I'm so glad he's in this film. There are a few funny moments like BB-8 and stuff.
Yeah.
I do kind of like that part at the casino where there's that little creature putting coins, trying to put coins in, which was actually
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill, yeah, that was actually Mark Hamill. I was gonna mention that, but which you can't tell from like the voice.
Yeah.
Not really, you know. I kind of wish he'd done his Joker voice.
There were a few moments where he started to slip into his Joker voice that I noticed, and I was like, come on, just do it already.
That would be so funny if you found out that this is like an evil clone version of Luke Skywalker.
It's the origin story of the Joker.
Of the Joker. That would redeem the movie. That would redeem the movie. You know what? That would redeem this whole movie. If that happened. But, and I do like that part where BB-8 has like a control of one of those walkers and is like shooting.
Oh, yeah.
That was, that's kind of funny. Mark Hamill, I thought, acting-wise, was very good.
Yeah.
The way his character was written, I have a ton of issues with, but acting-wise, I thought he was good.
Yeah, his performance was great.
Despite the script, And he does earn a few brownie points for not being fully satisfied with the project.
Yeah.
For criticizing it, like, before it came out, Like I said, there's some scenes I like. I like the scene with Luke on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And he sees R2-D2 again, he, like, pats him on the head and calls him old friend. That was a nice moment, I thought, seeing these two reunite. I wish he had reunited with Han Solo.
Yeah.
And the fact he didn't even know Han Solo was dead is...
God. Actually, Mark Hamill shared a photo on Twitter. I think it was him, at least.
There's a photo of him, Carrie Fisher, Billy D. Williams, and Harrison Ford in the Millennium Falcon, right? Yeah.
Like, I thought that if we could have had a scene like that, that would have been fantastic.
Yes. But I would have loved to have seen Lando interacting with Han again.
Yeah, but Han's dead, Luke's dead, Carrie Fisher, for all intents and purposes, is dead.
He interacts with Leia once, which is kind of a nice moment.
Yeah.
But, well, technically it's not him, but we'll get to that. You know what? I actually do kind of like the stuff with Yoda.
Yeah, when he shows up, I thought that was funny.
It's kind of goofy, but
I feel like it fits the original trilogy Yoda, though. Just with how kind of trolly he was in Empire.
And it also brings the Weird Al Yankovic song Yoda full circle, because there's a line where he says, the long-term contract I have to sign says I'll be making these movies till the end of time with my Yoda. It happened!
Yeah.
And just like... he calls him young Skywalker for some reason, And the puppet looks a little bit more like the one in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Which, that's another thing. They used a puppet. They didn't use a CGI, like, Yoda. Which, I mean, I would have been fine if it was CGI, but it was
especially
nice
since it was just a Force ghost.
And they got Frank Oz back, I like the part where he destroys the temple, and then with like a lightning bolt.
Exactly. Just like,
and then and
Luke's just like, the sacred texts.
Read them, have you? Page turners, they were not. I don't know. I thought it was kind of amusing. It was kind of fun.
That. Yeah.
It was kind of a funny moment. Maybe a bit goofy, but I don't know. He felt like his personality felt a little bit more like the Yoda from the original films.
Compared to the prequels, where in the prequels he's always like serious. And, like,
I mean, I like Yoda in the prequels, but yeah, he does have like, and he has some moments where he kind of states the obvious.
Yeah.
Prophecy misread, we might have. It's a stupid scene, but you know what? I kind of like the ending where Luke like duplicates himself.
I thought that was I think that's actually awesome. That whole
It was kind of. I thought it was kind of dumb, but at the same time, like I don't know. I just kind of look
so over the top.
It's so over the top, and like the part where Kylo Ren just goes no is like just. He gets really angry. It's so ridiculous. I
love when he's like, I want everything we have to
just,
fire on that man. And then he walks in and says...
yeah. What I kind of wish he'd done, though, I kind of wish it had been the actual Luke, and he just used the Force to, like...
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
I mean, Kylo Ren did it. I'm sure Luke's more powerful than him, but, you know. I liked and I liked how he... I also just like he just trolls like Kylo Ren and then
where he's just like see you around kid and then vanishes.
Yeah, he says see you around kid and then vanishes. I don't like one thing I don't like about that, Luke himself actually disappears. Yeah. Implying he died, which come on. I wish he had a more grand, better ending than that. But I don't know. It kind of reminded me of the most ridiculous stuff from the prequels that I just laugh at, just because of how over the top it is. It's the you underestimate my power of the newer films. And it also reminds me a lot of similar scene from the movie Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich, where she does a similar thing, or the scene from Total Recall where he has like a hologram going around, and then the actual the actual Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up and he says, "You think this is the real Quaid? It is," and he just shoots everyone. I thought directing-wise and cinematography-wise, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's still really good. Very well shot.
Visually, I think it's good for the most part. Yeah. For the most part, I gotta stress that. But, I think, like, they use, like, different color palettes. So, with Rogue One, it's so, like, gray and dirty and, like, not pleasant to look at. Whereas this one, it's colorful and, like, more visually appealing.
What I've noticed is it's also got like that kind of dinginess to it, but then when they have color, they make the color really bright, so it's like a really nice contrast. It's really pretty to look at most of the time.
And you see more planets in this one too. You get a salt planet.
Yeah, that salt planet was weird. How it turned red when people walked on it. Right. But I guess they did that.
And the only reason we know it's salt is because one guy just dips his finger in, licks it, and says, he's a salt, which is completely out of place. But and then you also have the one planet that Luke has kind of exiled himself on, and I was like trying to think, okay, what movie is this stuff reminding me of? And then I remembered Highlander. That place, it looks like Highlander. Some of the scenes in Highlander where Sean Connery is training Christopher Lambert in Highlander. This movie would have been greatly improved, though, with a Queen soundtrack. But I thought the music score was decent. It was mostly... They didn't reuse a ton of themes from the other movies. Aside from, the opening theme, obviously. I mean, if you don't have that in a Star Wars film, then that's a problem. Yeah. Maybe that's another reason I didn't like Rogue One. But acting-wise, I mean, they're not badly cast, but like we'll get into the writing.
The writing was
the acting. I didn't think was bad. Mark Hamill's good. Oscar Isaac didn't. I think he's a good actor, but he doesn't get enough to do. Yeah.
Carrie Fisher was good.
She doesn't get much to do at all in this.
I did like the scene where she did use the Force, though.
Which one? Oh my god. The one where she's flying through... that was terrible. Are you... You know what? I think, okay, there is one way I think I could enjoy this more. You know what? Maybe if I watched this as a parody.
That's what this whole thing feels like to me, actually.
If I had watched it, you know what?
It feels
if
like...
I turned this on right after Spaceballs, I might be in the right mood to watch.
Because it feels like Rian Johnson
Only
saw
problem,
The Force Awakens and was like, yes, I will make a parody to follow this up.
It basically feels like Hardware Wars or what was one of the like Mad magazine names for like one of the Star Wars, like Attack of the Groans or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Phantom Mennonite or something.
Yeah, it's
which that's copyrighted, by the way. I own that one, Phantom Mennonite.
That'd be a fun movie to watch.
Shoot, I need to copyright that title real quick. Somebody's gonna use it. Benicio del Toro is good in it. But we'll get to the problems soon enough. Special effects are good for the most part. Yeah. And there's interesting ideas, I think. I like that we learn a little more about the Force and the Jedi, and like, and I like, some of the training stuff with Rey and Luke. You get to see a little more of that. Because, like, Empire Strikes Back, you see, like, a little bit of training, but it's mostly Yoda talking to him, and then there's the cave scene and stuff. This one, you get a little bit more of that, and I do like that. But at the same time, it feels almost like Karate Kid, or I mentioned Highlander earlier.
Yeah.
Which are better movies than this one.
Granted,
I would give anything to see Sean Connery in a Star Wars film.
There is a scene that I have, like, flip-flopped on, like, almost every time I've watched it.
Okay.
And that is the throne room fight scene.
In the theater, I thought that was awesome.
See, like, every time I watch it, my opinion changes. Like, I'll watch it, I'm like, this looks awesome.
The fight itself,
but then if you actually, like, watch closely, it's a mess.
The choreography, especially on the guards, is very
The guards keep attacking each other and hitting each other's weapons.
But at the same time, though, if you, like, overanalyze some of the fights in the other movies,
Yeah. But I think now I do enjoy that scene.
That is a problem I have with the film, though. There isn't really a real lightsaber duel.
Not really.
The fight at the end doesn't count because it wasn't actually Luke, and they don't really clash swords. He mostly just avoids the sword, Kylo Ren, and then Kylo Ren, like, tries to run him through with it, and it doesn't work because he is a
Force
projection. Hologram. I don't know. I actually don't mind the beginning of the Cantobite sequence in the casino.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like the stuff with the little creature, like trying to put coins in it,
See, that's the one thing that I like about that scene, is seeing the creatures.
You see a lot of creatures. Kind of like, it's the same reason I like the Cantina stuff.
Yeah.
You get to see more of the creatures, and you get to see more of the, the outskirts of the galaxy. You get to see more of it,
really, before that, the only outskirts of the galaxy we saw was Tatooine.
Granted, a casino, like, some people, it might be out of place, but I'm the same person that I enjoy the Dexter's Diner stuff in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Even though it's very out of place and kind of ridiculous, but it's, there's a charm to it that I kind of like. And I do kind of like the crystal critters.
Yeah.
On the salt
Those
planet.
were kind of cool.
I kind of like the design of it.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool, This one, I will give credit. There's more of these creatures. There's more of these planets and stuff. It expands the galaxy a little bit. And I just wish that the writing and the story was better.
And as panned as the Porgs were, there was, a technical reason for having them.
Yeah, because I think there were puffins.
Yeah, there was a bunch of puffins on the island.
And they couldn't really move them, so they decided to work around it. I don't like the design, though, and
they are kind of weird.
I don't really like the noises they make. They look like little owls that have, like, big
they're like penguin
guinea pig eyes.
It's like a combination of a penguin and an owl. They have guinea pig
eyes, or like rodent eyes or something, But yeah, negatives, which there are a ton of. The ending actually rips off Chad Vader.
Really?
With the kid using the Force on the broom. that actually happens in Chad Vader. I don't. Have you seen?
I've
Chad
not.
Vader?
No.
Oh man, it's really funny. But the writing, though, it is absolutely maddening. How poorly written some of this is.
It's so bad.
The plot is just... They try and do 3 plots at once. And 2 of the plot lines are absolutely terrible. One of them has problems, but is at least a little more interesting than the other 2. Well, you know which 2 I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The stuff with Finn and Rose and the...
And then
Canto Guy, and the stuff with...
Holder and
Poe. And Poe, oh my gosh, it's so bad.
Bad.
They basically make Poe look like a complete idiot.
They do.
A reckless
throughout the
idiot.
whole movie.
For the whole movie. It's like they were trying to assassinate his character, basically.
And then they made Poe a complete coward. Like, in the last one, he wanted to get away, but he still stayed to help and fight. In this one, he's just running away the whole time.
You mean Finn?
Yeah, Finn.
Finn.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Finn was an interesting character in the first film, and in this one, what is his character development? They just don't do anything with him. They just throw him into this pointless subplot that goes basically nowhere, except for, you screwed over basically your whole organization. You know, now the Resistance is screwed. And Rose, has absolutely no reason to be there.
Somebody described that entire...
They try and force a kind of a romantic subplot with them, even though
just doesn't work.
They just don't have any chemistry.
They have less chemistry than Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman had, in my opinion.
Yes, because for one thing, Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, they actually do have one scene where they have, there are a few scenes where they actually do have some chemistry. The picnic scene, I actually thought, there's actually some chemistry there, And some of the battle scenes, I thought, during some of the battle scenes, they have some good banter.
Especially the gladiator fight.
You call this diplomacy? No, I call it aggressive negotiations. Attack of the Clones, I'll take any day over The Last Jedi, I gotta say. I'll take it any day, It was actually this movie that made me reconsider my thoughts on the prequels, Because I was thinking about that and how much stuff I actually do enjoy in the prequels, and I rewatch the prequels. I'm like, these are actually pretty entertaining films. That's how bad this film was.
I heard someone describe the film.
Because I used to hate the prequels. That's another thing I need to point out. If I had not done this podcast, I would have just went on just hating the prequels, just despising them, especially the first 2. But rewatching them, they were actually a lot more entertaining than I remember.
I heard someone describe the whole Finn and Rose subplot where they have to go fix their hyperlight drive.
They have to get a code breaker.
Yeah.
But they don't end up getting the code breaker. They have to get this guy who broke him out of jail.
I heard a guy describe it as...
And then he betrays them. I mean, of course, because...
Yeah.
Why would you trust this guy?
I heard someone describe it as what feels like an episode of the Clone Wars, or a TV show, where it's they needed a filler episode, and that is what it feels like to me.
Yeah, a little bit. Granted, it's not as bad as, say, the holiday special.
True.
Which isn't even a movie. But probably the biggest thing that got the most backlash was Luke's depiction in this.
Yeah.
Which divided a lot of people. A lot of people absolutely hated what they did with Luke. A lot of people, they were fine with it.
Because I can understand present day Luke being a little, jaded.
I can see him being kind of jaded, but not this jaded.
Exactly.
Not this jaded.
The whole way, how he deals with Kylo, that felt
it's kind of antithetical to his character, because in the original films, he is so, convinced that there is good left in Darth Vader, even though he is part of a tyrannical dictatorship. He sees the good in him and tries to save him.
I think Kylo hasn't even turned yet, and he's like, yeah, I'll kill this child in his sleep.
Exactly.
And that scene happens before he becomes jaded. That's supposed to what leads to him becoming jaded.
Unless Luke was somehow influenced partly by the dark side a little bit, I don't see how that happened, because he was one of the most optimistic characters from the originals. I could see maybe, I don't know, Han in one of the first 2 movies
Yeah.
doing something sort of like that if he was in Luke's position, but not Luke himself. Granted, I did like some of the stuff where he's like talking about like the Jedi Order and how it collapsed. You know, he's like talking about how there's a legacy of hubris with some of it. You know, and that was kind of interesting because they do tie it into the prequels.
Yeah,
it, you know,
which is something I do like. They didn't completely ignore the prequels like they did with Force Awakens.
Force Awakens, I don't even. Yeah, they don't.
The only connection that there is when Starkiller Base is blowing up all the planets. They all look like prequel planets.
You know what would have been kind of nice now that I think about it? I kind of would have liked a scene between Yoda and Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Again, you know, because they haven't seen each other since Revenge of the Sith. So,
yeah.
You know, that'd be kind of nice. But yeah, oh my gosh, I do kind of like the shot though where Luke is like holding the green lightsaber.
It is
looks
a good
really
shot,
angry,
but it's just.
But it's oh my gosh,
out of place.
It's very out of place. Yes.
And then there's the completely wasted character Snoke.
Snoke is probably
they just threw him out of the trilogy.
They basically get rid of 2 of the biggest villains from this trilogy.
Yeah.
In the same movie, they get rid of Snoke pretty quickly, and then they get rid of Phasma pretty quickly. Even though they built up both of these, and then they don't do anything with.
When I saw this in theaters, there was only one scene where I was like, that sucks, and that was Snoke's death.
The way Snoke dies
so dumb.
Is very dumb. How does he not detect the lightsaber turning on, about to turn on and slice him in half?
And you gotta think, the whole time Snoke is reading Kylo's mind, so Kylo has to be really vague with how he's thinking about doing it.
Exactly.
Like...
What they tried to do with this movie is they tried to add in a bunch of twists and like gotcha moments, and then they ended up just making it to the point where, well, that's dumb, that's annoying, stop it.
I hate how they got rid of Snoke, because I was actually excited to see more Snoke.
It's like reading a fan fiction by a teenager who thinks he's made it a lot more clever than he thinks.
Exactly, and it's just bad.
I mean, honestly, M. Night Shyamalan would be ashamed of this movie.
I'd actually love to see a Shyamalan directed Star Wars, to be fair. There's no way that could be horrible.
I wouldn't. You remember The Last Airbender?
True.
Probably, I actually think the biggest waste of the original characters is Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
They do nothing with her. Absolutely nothing.
I think they expected to have her for episode 9 to do more with.
They should have done something with her. Maybe have her go with, like, Han or something on an adventure, because, come on, I mean, they're married, too.
Yeah.
They are married, and then they just don't do anything with her character, and then there's that really dumb scene of her floating in space, which even in the theater I was thinking that shot looks kind of goofy. And then people were comparing it to like Mary Poppins or
I forgot about
Superman. Yeah. And her voice, like something I realized, her voice sounds kind of like Marge Simpson.
It does. She doesn't
and
sound
even
like Carrie Fisher.
Her hair looks a little bit like Marge.
She doesn't sound like Carrie Fisher in this movie.
Exactly. Okay, one thing that really annoyed me rewatching this, Kylo Ren. He starts off.
He is a lot more emo in this.
He starts off he's like. He breaks his mask. I do kind of like the scene, though, with him and Snoke, where Snoke says, "You're just a child in a mask." He's just very angry at him for losing against Rey. And then he becomes a good guy halfway through the movie, and he kills Snoke.
And then goes back to being a villain.
And then goes back to being a villain.
Why?
But then he says to Rey, we could end this. We could start a new thing without the Sith, without the Jedi. I would have loved to see that.
That would have been awesome, but no, Rey's just like, nah. Peace out. And Kylo's like, yeah, I'll go back to the dark side. It was so bad.
That would have been a good twist, but then he just switches back to being bad for absolutely no reason. And not the good kind of bad, like Michael Jackson, but like the bad writing bad.
You know what song
He switches more sides than a hockey puck. I mean, what? Why?
You know what song I think perfectly fits Kylo Ren's character?
What?
If Metallica did the soundtrack, his theme would be Halo on Fire. A completely over-edgy song that's just...
Was that off? Which album was that off? Was that off?
I think that was
Saint Anger.
I think it was Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Oh my gosh. He basically is Saint Anger. He's so mad and just...
I mean, because his tantrums in The Force Awakens were actually kind of terrifying at points.
When he has the lightsaber, I thought that was, I like the part where he slices up the
machinery and you see the stormtroopers come around the corner and just walk back.
But the part with them where he destroys the mask,
it's bad.
It's kind of over dramatic, and he almost slips into like Hayden Christensen from Attack of the Clones there. I hate them.
And he has that weird like metal band-aid
on
for, the first half of the movie.
Yeah. Maybe he was like trying to join some like emo band or something, I think I meant Finn. Let's talk about Finn.
No, I don't want to talk about Finn.
They basically destroyed his character. He's basically just a dumb comic relief who's along for the ride in this.
Yeah, he's trying to escape.
Even his first scene, when you see him, he's in that weird like machine thing with the tubes hooked up to him. He falls out of it.
And then he's walking around with it all stuck in, and he's like walking like this.
He's waddling,
exactly.
Basically, yeah. It's just so bad.
They turned him into a complete joke.
He's a complete idiot in this movie.
And then, at the end, he was doing the sacrifice. And when he was doing that, I would rather he actually sacrificed himself in that
but
scene.
then Rose messes it up and crashes into his ship and says something like,
it's not about destroying what we hate, but saving what we love.
Exactly. Oh
no,
my God.
Stop. Just let him sacrifice himself.
Quit with this, like, vaguely philosophical
because I feel like that could have been a good solution to a redemption arc they tried to force in, but then they just left it unresolved.
It would have sucked that he died, but at least he would have died.
He would have had purpose to the story.
I guess the only purpose he really has in the story is tag along with Rose and Benicio del Toro, and then kill Phasma.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Remove him from the movie. It doesn't really change where the plot line goes or where his character goes.
Also, a minor thing. I'm still not entirely sure.
That's another thing. Phasma was killed pretty quickly.
I'm not entirely sure how Finn was able to break through Phasma's helmet so easily.
I don't know.
Because that's made out of ship armor. Like,
they got killed by Ewoks throwing rocks at them and sticks and stuff. Sticks and stones may break my bones, especially if they're thrown by killer teddy bears.
Phasma was once again wasted in this movie.
Exactly, yeah. They basically turned her into the Boba Fett and Darth Maul of this sequel trilogy. She shows up for the scene. She shows up a few scenes.
And then she dies.
Looks kind of cool and then dies. Yeah, exactly. At least, at least Boba Fett got some cool lines with Vader.
Yeah.
And at least Darth Maul got that really cool lightsaber duel with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace. That was a really cool scene. Which I gotta say, none of the lightsaber battles in these newer films are as entertaining
that great. No.
as, the ones in the prequels. Because even the worst one, probably the worst duel of the prequels is the one between Dooku and Anakin in Attack of the Clones. But at least there's kind of some fun dialogue between the two. You have Christopher Lee, for one.
And you also have Christopher Lee just taking things off the wall with the Force and throwing at him, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. I think the choreography during that was, with the lightsaber duel, because it's mostly just close-ups of their face, It looks kind of terrible. But the ones in these, the one in the forest is...
That one's pretty cool, but that's mostly just because of the lightsaber effects with the snow.
And mostly because mostly the setting.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
But in this one, every time a lightsaber is used, it's just underwhelming.
The chemistry between Finn and Rose, like we mentioned, just non-existent, just not there. She was clearly just shoehorned into the movie.
Yeah.
just as some kind of romantic, like, plot with... Oh, my. Just... And the when they escape the casino planet...
By releasing those creatures.
Cringeworthy. They're like riding on these fox creatures.
It's bad.
The CGI's bad for one thing, but it's just, oh gosh. And then after that, she just like, they're all running away, and then she says, "Oh, now it's worth it," even though they'll probably just, those creatures will probably just get captured any time soon.
It's like, cool. So what was the point of that?
Exactly. It's pointless. This basically made. That's another thing. This made basically every movie before it pointless.
Yeah.
Because it makes the original films pointless. Because what was the rebellion fighting for if a new order was just going to rise up and conquer all over again?
Exactly.
And then it makes The Force Awakens pointless because it doesn't do anything with these new characters.
And everything that The Force Awakens set up, it throws away.
I think this is the worst one. This is the worst one. Yeah.
I
have problems with Rogue One, but take it or leave it. You know, it's just kind of there. It's pointless, but it's kind of there. This one actually negates a lot of stuff.
I hope Episode 9 tries to fix the whole ordeal with Rey's parents.
They'll have to, like I said, like, Highlander 2 it, where with the DVD releases and stuff, they have to, like, retcon a bunch of stuff. Every Highlander sequel basically retcons the previous, film, including the second one.
The Rey's parents plotline, they just threw it out in this one.
Basically, yeah, they just say, "Oh, there was nobody." But the thing is with that, I can see like them going the route of
he was just lying.
Kylo's lying.
Yeah,
he's lying.
That's what they're gonna have to do.
I mean,
otherwise, that's the worst plotline you could have ever created.
You don't even know what side he's on because he switches it so often. He's like a double agent or something. Just what?
Bad.
Just this movie amounts to just a bunch of missed character opportunities. Like,
Don't forget Admiral Akbar dies.
Oh yes, Admiral Akbar. And what sucks about that is they filmed his death, but they didn't include it in the movie. It's not in the movie.
It's just...
We gotta mention the Holdo plotline. That was absolutely awful.
Yeah, because Poe's like, I want to be in charge. And then he stages a mutiny that gets them all killed, and then Holdo just drives the ship through.
Leia demotes him, but then, like, Holdo doesn't, like, tell Poe, like, what they're doing. And I was thinking, idiot, maybe you could have avoided a mutiny if you had just said, oh, wait, this is our plan. We're going to go into that ship and get away in that ship and blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
It's like you won't...
The character decisions in this are incredibly dumb. Very dumb. They make basically every character look like a complete idiot.
Yeah. It's just so bad.
You ever, it's... Oh my gosh.
I don't remember. Why does
she have purple hair? Like, what is up with that?
Space hair, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just so dumb, and that whole plot line sucked.
I know C-3PO was in this movie somewhere, but I don't remember where.
I do remember one line is Leia, like, says to him, wipe that stupid, like, look off your face.
Oh.
And he says, oh, I certainly will, or something, Which was kind of funny. Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny. See, but C-3PO doesn't do much.
No, not in this trilogy.
You don't get to see, like, I mean, okay. I think there is one part where 3PO, like, he doesn't say this exact line. He says something like, oh, Master Luke's come to rescue us. Or, shoot, that was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
When he said that. But he says something, about Luke when he arrives at the base. Or, sorry, not Luke.
Yeah.
The hologram of Luke. Snoke, he's just wasted. Basically waste half of the main villains in this. Goldmember's just killed off in a very dumb way, and before we even get to learn much about him.
Yeah. Then
he's kind of the Boba Fett of this series too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know more about Snoke, and they're just like, no, we'll kill him immediately.
Except Boba Fett's far cooler than Snoke is. But...
And then the kill-off Phasma, they turn Hux into even more of a joke. Not to mention,
like, Snoke, he's like... I heard they based his look a bit off of, like, Hugh Hefner or something.
Really?
His robe. But he looks more like... He looks more like Goldmember.
His robe... The costume choice for him, I admit, is really bizarre.
Gosh.
And he doesn't do anything except sit on his throne, laugh evenly, and throw Rey around using the Force.
Now I can't decide which is worse between this and Goldmember. Oh my gosh. The fact you're stealing stuff from Austin Powers and Goldmember, I mean, that proves it's a parody by this point. There's also shots of, like, the CGI that look very bad. I don't know if you noticed it, but especially towards the end, you know, you have mostly, you know, some of the stuff with Rose and Finn, like, there's, like, one shot where, like, Rose, like, riding on the ship or something. It looks so bad. It looks very bad. It looked, like, very cartoonish.
And to me, the lightsaber effects in this weren't nearly the same as they were in The Force Awakens. I remember when I
thought the lightsaber effects were fine.
Because when I rewatched Force Awakens, like, the lightsabers feel like they have power behind them.
Yeah. In
this one, they just feel like glowing sticks again.
When did you last watch this, by the way?
Like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen it in full since, like, last month, you know, because I watched a fan edit. The fan edit, it's still not a great film with the fan edit, but it's at least watchable. Because another problem with this film, it is way too long.
It is
2 hours and 32 minutes.
Yeah, it's the longest Star Wars
movie, and it feels long. It does feel long. Another problem with this, there's like, okay, I know, there's humor in like the Star Wars movies, but this one, it puts humor in places where it doesn't belong. Yeah. Like really dramatic scenes that are supposed to be dramatic, and then they just throw in some dumb joke. Like one of the worst offenders being like when Luke meets Leia again, and then like she says like something about her hair, how it's different, and it just very out of place. You know? And he says something like, "Oh, it looks good on you." You know, it's very bad. The scene at the beginning, calling for General Hugs.
That
he's prank calling Hux and making your mama jokes, and it's
bad.
It's kind of oh my god. There's so many scenes in this. They just feel like a really bad like Star Wars parody.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just. Yeah.
Honestly, like, I think Spaceballs fits in better with the continuity of these movies.
I think they saw this and were like, yep,
you know what?
Let's give this man his own Star Wars trilogy.
Okay. I don't care what anybody says. Spaceballs is effectively a prequel to these movies. With the next one, if they don't have a President Scroob cameo, I'll be very disappointed. Maybe get Rick Moranis in there, too. I already went over most of these criticisms. There's just too many plot lines going on at the same time. Too many dumb decisions. I gave up even trying to figure out what Finn and Rose were actually doing.
Yeah.
In their plot line. It also feels like there's scenes that are missing, too. Like, scenes just don't flow very well. They just kind of... There's a scene, and then it cuts. Scene... cuts, just like there's no flow. There's just the editing. That was another thing I noticed. Like the editing just felt kind of choppy between scenes.
See, I feel like
scenes they were either too short or too long.
Yeah. I feel like with the multiple plot lines, they should have just had two. They should have one with Rey and Luke, and then have one with Poe and Finn again.
Yeah, have Poe go with Finn. You can still have some of the casino plan. Don't make it as long and drawn out, but you can include some of it, because some of it was kind of interesting.
And I think it'd be kind of fun to get more interaction between these two characters.
I don't mind seeing a casino planet in a Star Wars movie. I mean, you already had the Dexter's Diner stuff, you know.
There's just too much potential with this one that they threw out.
It's just... Now it's worth it? No, it isn't. Rey, like... We didn't even mention Rey.
Not really. For being the main character, she is kind of forgettable at points. She
doesn't leave much of an impression, no.
That could also just be because her plotline is the most stable out of all the plotlines. That there's not much to complain about.
I think the problem with this one, you had a director who wasn't really known for science fiction or even or Star Wars films, and you gave him complete control over the creative decisions of the film. I mean, people have problems with George Lucas having complete creative control over his movies,
but at least they didn't.
But at least there's more creativity with it. There's more
and it didn't
interesting
feel like a
ideas.
parody of it.
Yeah.
It's just
something. Yeah, it's something I never thought I would say. Like a couple of years ago, is I think all of the prequels are better than this. This movie was so bad.
This movie is such a mess.
This movie's so bad, it made me like the prequels more. Because the prequels, I mean, okay, they have issues.
They have entertainment value.
They have a lot of entertainment value.
They are incredibly funny movies.
Attack of the Clones is not a very good movie, but it's got a certain endearing charm to it that I like. It's goofy. It's a bit overblown and over the top, but it's entertaining. There's some interesting ideas in there. Some terrible ideas. But with those, George Lucas, he had some creative ideas. He just needed somebody to maybe rein him in a little bit and revise more,
Yeah.
Like with the original ones, because he wrote the story outlines for the original films, but he had other people helping him along a bit,
Something I will give to this movie, The Force Awakens felt a bit derivative from, New Hope. Last Jedi feels nothing like any of the other movies.
Which is a huge problem.
Exactly.
Which is a huge problem. It doesn't feel like... The prequels, I mean... They, at least... Phantom Menace, not as much. But, the other two, they felt more like Star Wars films.
Yeah.
They had the grand, epic scope of them. They were a bit overblown and theatrical, but, they at least felt like they were part of the same universe.
Yeah.
At least, I think Phantom Menace, tone-wise, is a bit out of step with some of the other ones, but, it looks like Star Wars, at least. This one, just, no. It feels more like somebody
wanted to make a Star Wars film, but got lost on the way.
It feels like it was made by somebody who doesn't understand Star Wars.
Someone who only read the Wikipedia articles.
Somebody who only read the
Star Wars
Wikipedia
movies.
articles. Yeah, exactly. And even then, was he even awake when he watched?
I don't know.
And I'm saying this, I don't even think Rian Johnson's a bad director. I don't. I mentioned earlier, he directed a few episodes of Breaking Bad, and not just 3 episodes of Breaking Bad, 3 of the best episodes.
And he has another...
And he has a visual eye. He knows how a shot should be constructed.
This movie looks beautiful most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah, but he doesn't know how to write a coherent story or characters. He really doesn't. Like I mentioned, when I was first watching this, for the podcast, I remember just finishing it and just going oh no. And then thinking oh man, I miss the prequels now. I want to rewatch those now, And now I have a new love and respect for the prequels, which again, I didn't think was possible, because I used to think those movies sucked. I thought they were just, it's a mess. It is a mess. And it had so much potential. This could have been the best of the trilogy.
It really could have.
It could have. And it just... I think the only reason I enjoyed it when I saw it in the theater was well, part of it, I was kind of just, I think I was just in a good mood that day, you know. But at the same time, my expectations were kind of low after Rogue One. I just wanted something entertaining. You know,
I was still caught up in the hype, for it, which is why I was excited.
By that point, I kind of lost some of the hype for it. You know, and at the same time, I accept. Yeah, they're never gonna make one as good as those original films, but at least try.
Like this movie.
Do or do not. There is no try.
This movie actually killed my hype for Episode 9.
It kind of did.
Even with the trailer where I get to hear Palpatine laughing again, I don't have hype.
I don't have high hopes for either the next movie or
the Rian
Johnson films or the ones written by the guys from Game of Thrones. I don't have high expectations. All I'm hoping for is we get more Lando and we get more of Palpatine.
Yeah.
That's the, you know.
If the movie could just be like 2 hours of nothing but Palpatine, I would be satisfied with that ending.
Though Palpatine bringing him back is a bit of a double-edged sword for me, you know. But we'll get to that later.
What if there's a fight scene at the end between Lando and Palpatine?
A lightsaber duel?
Exactly.
Okay.
You find out that Lando was the hero of the prophecy all along.
You know what? If they do that, it'll be not only my favorite Star Wars movie, but my favorite movie of all time.
And it'll take a Mad Max Fury Road approach where that's the whole movie. It's just one massive lightsaber fight going on. And of course there's going to be other stuff going on, but it's all going to be in the background compared to this.
You know, if they do that, that is the most amazing idea ever.
Hire me now, Disney.
Apparently Joaquin Phoenix actually was offered the role of Benicio del Toro's role. And they also consider Billy D. Williams. They consider having Lando be the guy that they have as the code breaker.
You know, actually, I felt like that character could have been Lando when I watched it.
I don't know if Lando would betray them, though. But
he wouldn't, but like before that, I could definitely feel it being Lando.
Yeah. It was like it was nominated for 4 Oscars. I'm not going to read all these, but it was nominated for 4 Oscars. Best score, best sound editing, best sound mixing, and visual effects. Didn't win any of them.